So, one fantastic scene. For those of you who don't know, my favourite modern incarnation of the Doctor is, and will always be, Christopher Eccleston's amazing Ninth Doctor. All the way back in 2005 when I was just a toddler, he was the first incarnation of the character that I ever experienced, and I quickly got attached to his battered yet iconic get-up and his wonderfully daft grin, and he's just the main reason that I'm so invested in this massive sci-fi show over 15 years later. I adore every episode of his iconic run, and in just 13 episodes across 10 stories, he's managed to make more of an impact on me than almost any other actor to take the role. So when it came to deciding which scene of his fantastic, pardon the pun, series was my favourite, it really took some thinking. Of course his Regeneration, Coward Any Day and Feeling the Turn of the Earth scenes are all phenomenal, and some of them I wouldn't hesitate to cover in future if anyone who might be watching this is interested. But I always find that when it comes to Doctor Who, some of the more subtle scenes can have just as much an impact as the grand scenes do, if they are placed right, and I was pleased to see that my favourite of these more subtle scenes was still available, and appears in the debut of Doctor Who's most hit-and-miss writer's script, The Empty Child / The Doctor Dances. Having broken into the house during an air raid, the homeless children who are sleeping rough across the country come together to enjoy dinner that has been arranged by Nancy. But they are not alone, as the Doctor makes his appearance by appearing out of nowhere and grabbing a piece of beef off the plate. I love how easily the Doctor just fits in, and he doesn't even make his appearance obvious by a grand entrance or speech, but just by waiting to be noticed. And it works even better as the audience themselves weren't expecting him to appear yet. I always find myself smiling while watching this scene, especially this small moment, as it just highlights how the Doctor doesn't want to scare or bewilder these children, as he sees them just as people and therefore worthy of respect. Each Doctor could be judged best on how they interact with children, and seeing this Doctor treat them as people is so much fun to watch, as it's not trying to be pandering or grandiose, but just funny and endearing. Also, this scene is just absolutely hilarious and just further shows how Eccleston is the quintessential Doctor, by how he can handle anything from comedy to even drama. The two main people in this scene are the Doctor and Nancy. Nancy is a really good addition to this story, and I cannot be more pleased to say that she is not your typical Moffat story girl, as she actually has a personality, nor can she be described very poorly as simply feisty, which is honestly what I hear regarding a lot of the characters in later series as a replacement for character development or personality. Florence Hoth gives a captivating performance here, and she easily could have made great companion material under different circumstances. But then that definitely wouldn't have worked as well due to Nancy's character arc, but also how the Doctor's character arc plays out across the series. Nancy is just a lovely, fun young detective type. She has stories to tell, a mysterious past, and a stern yet caring demeanour. And what is great is that we learn all this through just a few lines of dialogue about how she interacts with the Doctor and to the children that she's taking care of. This expertly introduces her character arc for the story in several different ways, as not only do we, as mentioned, learn about her as a person, but that she is clearly hurt by her past, but is determined to keep going because she knows she has a responsibility to help in these difficult times. But for the Doctor, on the other hand, I'm going to have to talk about his arc across this series, rather than in just this episode. The reason not only Eccleston, but the character of the Doctor is so important to me is because of the message it has taught me that has stayed with me throughout my entire life. If Doctor Who has taught me one thing, it's that no matter how bad things get, no matter how difficult life can be, there is always a reason to keep on going, and that's because you have to, and in the Doctor's case it's because he has a responsibility to save lives and planets. And if the Doctor can get up after so much shit is thrown at him, then so can you. And the reason I'm using this scene as a way to highlight this is that it's a scene where a man who has been through mental torment and has been struggling to even call himself by his own name can find happiness in the most simple of setups, and that is simply having dinner with a group of people and appreciating the beauty that life has. This scene is just flawless, and it makes me feel happy whenever I watch it, not just because of the reasons I mentioned, but also because it's just really nice to look at visually with the yellow lighting and because of the hilarious dialogue. The performances are unforgettable, the dialogue exquisite, its placement in the series arc absolutely seamless, and I could go on for hours about its little perfections and nuances, such as the way Nancy works out that the Doctor isn't a police officer, because even he isn't meant to be here either, and also how impressed the Doctor is by the way the group takes care of themselves. With all that and even more, I can truly say that it is really one fantastic scene.